Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are going live. Hopefully, just wanna double check it. There are some things not always go as they planned, and sometimes people don't like it. And machines can do it sometimes. Let me double check just quickly that we are live somewhere on YouTube. Yeah, it looks like sound check. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. So who I am? I'm Ark. If you don't know me, it's okay. Sometimes I'm doing these things like streams or sometimes videos about programming for absolute beginners, like really from scratch. And actually, I'm even reiterating them, like restarting them again and again. So I think, of course, we can go much deeper and to more complex stuff, etc., etc. But yes, because there are so many videos about complex stuff that I think if I do more and more about simple stuff and even like deleting the old one and recreating and or like re-recording the new ones, I think it's gonna be better because if one or two new people gonna watch one or two new videos of mine and it can help them, then it's cool. So today, in this first one of this season, we are going to talk about first three most important blocks of programming, as I stated it here. Let me share the screen, as I usually like to draw something and write about these things. 1 second. Yeah, and this time I also gonna try to do these streams in more relaxing mode. Sometimes they were more relaxing, sometimes I try to do it more fast. But I think it's okay for stream to be more relaxing, and then especially for beginners, not to rush. You can always make the speed faster if you are in any rush. Let me just turn off this thing. Sometimes I'm forgetting about turning off this writings, and then I write something here below and then people can not see it, and it's a pity. Okay, so I think as we did everything cool here I have my screen and I can write something. Let's check. So yeah, it's working. Everything works well, and I can turn myself in the corner. Yeah, so you could see me if you need. But the most important is what I say and what I draw. But I think it's cool that if you can see the person who is speaking to you, no matter if you like him or not. But if he or she speaks what you need, I guess we can get this information and use it. I also hope we like each other somehow. So, what first three main blocks of programming are? As again, as I put it, maybe there are some books where they make it some other way, but I suggest that if you understand these three and you learn about them, and most importantly, you grasp the idea, you, let's say, really understand deep down, then you can build all other things using those things. What I mean, build like let's say using first and second, we build another block, then another block can be built because of this and this, etc., etc. By blocks, I mean some kind of things the programming consists of. So you'll see what I mean, like when we start talking about them. And so let's start talking about them. The first is data. Data is everything, especially these days. You hear a lot about, if you, of course, somehow connected to IT or you just using computers, internet, etc. You probably heard about AI, of course, all this chat GPT, etc., etc. So all those big models they trained, um, when they train, they use a lot of data. And generally in internet, we have a lot of data. And in this world, in this day and age, we have a lot of information. So information or data. So any small piece of information or big data like we have it now around us, all of this and every aspect of this. And as simple as just uh, like one letter, A, for example, or one number, 3 or 4, as simple as these pieces of information, or even like yes or no, like is there green dot on the screen or not. Like let's say, let's draw this dot. This is kind of filled and this is not. It's a blank, meaning that there is no, not like let's say checkbox. It could be checked or not checked. Even this as simple information as this is all that we can call data, information, um, knowledge, whatever you call it. This is first and probably one, like it's one of the first three most important, if not the most important piece, because without information, there is no programming. This is why we call IT because it's information technology after all. So programming, coding is just a way to manipulate the information. But if we would not have information, we would not have something to manipulate with. So we only have people to manipulate. Some people don't like when some other people manipulate them. Actually, nobody likes to be manipulated, but I would argue that somebody is not manipulated even when they think that they are manipulated. But anyway, I think we've been all manipulated in one way or another. Another thing, if we let them do it or not. So with people, it's bad thing, but with information, it's actually a very good thing. If you manipulate the information, not in order to manipulate people, but just for the sake of doing something with this information, like let's say reorganizing it or use some information to get another information, get some knowledge, come to some conclusions. So this is how you manipulate the information. So all the technology behind IT, like information technology, all the coding, programming, all the tools, it's all about manipulating this information. This is why it's very important to know. And this is why we're gonna talk about this in more details in future, I guess. Yeah, because I usually talk about information later and separate a lecture. And this is how we do it this time as well. So the second biggest block is quite interesting. We can call it different names. Like we can just put the question mark if we want. We can use the English word condition. Condition. We can also use another very popular English word, if. It's not only popular in the language itself, I mean in English and any other language, I guess, because people can use it a lot when they talk. But I think the what I mean here, if you, of course, touched any of programming languages already, and if you don't, I just let you know. Like if you touch, you already know. If you don't, I just let you know that it's very popular word in programming languages. So a lot of time in programming, you can see something like if something, it doesn't matter right now what something, then sometimes in some languages it's even actually written then do something. So if, let's say, if something is true, or if something happens, if something is going on like that and like that, then yeah, do this, or otherwise don't do, or otherwise do something else. Yes, so if we are gonna use some example from real life, one of the examples I always like to use in this case is about weather. Let's say we have sun, shining there, and then we ask if, and actually we can address to the sun, like I'm saying, weather is good. So I just make it short, W is G, like, but meaning the weather is good, just to make my writings shorter. So we just check if the sun is there, and then we can use this arrow kind of. So just to let you know from the very beginning, even when we're gonna already learn how to code actually and write some code, it still not necessarily be exactly any language or something like that. And I actually encourage you not to learn a language right away, like any programming language, but to create your own actually. So what we need to learn when we're gonna learn the basic blocks of programming today, and then gonna look at them later in more details, we gonna then create some kind of pseudo language, our own language. And in our language, we can use any symbols, and instead of if, we could even use something else, but if is actually sounds good. But instead of then, like in some languages, it could be then here, or nothing, or it could be some curly braces, etc., just to indicate that this is what's gonna be going on after if is true. Yeah, I just use this arrow. This is what I'm norm. What this is what I wanna just tell you from the beginning, that I'm going to use it like this to create something from scratch. And sometimes, a lot of times, it could be different things. So don't try to memorize, remember, like Ark wrote it like that, or John said it like that. Like, if John is like me, or anybody, any other teacher who are creating pseudo languages, like, or their own languages, just for the sake of explanation, then we are free to create any symbols, and we are free to change them time to time. The most important that you understand their meaning behind. Doesn't matter so much what symbol do you use. Of course, when you're gonna learn and use the real programming language, then it will be very important to stick to some uh, correct syntax. But for now, we just create it. So from scratch, whatever come to your head. So to make story short about this sunshiny weather, if weather is good, then we can just say something like go for a walk. Go for a walk. So excuse me, forgive me my writing. And let's say if weather was not good, let's say it's no sun, it's now cloudy, then we just understand that this thing is not going to happen. We will not go to for the walk. Or we can use sometimes something like else, and it's also written and used in many programming languages. We can say else stay home, but we are not obligated to use. Oh, I don't think you're gonna see it because of my video. home. Yeah, but my point is it's not obligatory. So like we can just survive without this else. We just go for the work if it's sun. If it's no sun, we don't. So that's what I wanted to show you in this example. Let's go back to our 3 blocks. So the second block was about information. I mean, the first block, sorry, was about information, and the second block was about condition. Now, in our example, if we go back to our example below with the sunshine, we had both already, not only the second. This is the second block, yeah, like if the question we ask against the data we have. But the data we have, it's actually the weather forecast, or maybe the actual weather. We just look out of the window and we check the actual weather, and we check if it's sunshine there or if it's cloudy, etc. So this is actually the information. And as I said before, if we would not have this information, if we had no weather forecast or actual weather, like if we had no windows in our house, we had no way to check the weather, then our second block would not help us at all. It has no meaning. I mean, we can write if, but even we can even write if weather is good, but if we don't know if weather is good or not good, then it doesn't really make any sense. I mean, this is why I said in the beginning that the first block, the information, is actually maybe even the most important of these three. Of course, if we only have information, we also cannot do much because we need to manipulate it, etc. But so they all like kind of interconnected and depend on one another. But I just want to reemphasize how important data is, because even if we have the second block, like conditions and if statements, etc., like we start coding and writing, but we do not have like writing the programs, and even if we do it right, etc., etc., but if we do not have access to actual information, then unfortunately nothing is going to work. And also the third one is actually even more kind of hidden figure, but without that guy, it's also nothing is going to actually work, because it's actually controlling everything and everyone. So talking about manipulation, when I talk about control, it's also good thing. So we talked about manipulating the data, not people, but data. And when we talk about control, we're also talking about flow control, like, or you can think about something controlling how computer works, how your program works, how things work. And again, when controlling people is a bad thing, but controlling the PC, like computer, phone, any other equipment in IT, in information technology, is good. So we kind of manipulating the data, manipulating the information, and controlling the flow. And this is how things work. Actually, if we go back to our example about weather again, we see that the third block is also here. So just to recap, the second block was used as this if question. So it's condition. We are checking the condition if the weather is good. The fact if the weather is good or not, like this weather forecast, is actually a piece of information. It's the data. It's the first very important block. Yeah. So first is here, second is here, and you kind of gonna ask me, and so where is the third one? You, it's actually everywhere, but in some places it's more visible. Like for example, this arrow. So like we say, if there is a sun out there, I look out of my window and I see the sun, Then I go for a work. But the fact that I need to jump to this action and actually go out for the work, so will be controlled by this arrow. So the fact that something in our program, like when we talk about real life, it's gonna be maybe our brain which is controlling the situation. We check the weather, we know that weather is good, and then we decided, so it's our decision. We decided to go outside, we got our clothes on or whatever, or maybe we just got our sunglasses, and we went outside and went for a walk. So in our real life, our brain, our decisions gonna control the flow wherever we go. Yeah. So we ask the question, it was a condition, check the weather, got some information, and then we controlled ourselves and we went outside. In programming languages and coding and computers, um, those hidden figures normally work for you. So things are always under control. So you should not really care about them much. Sometimes you explicitly use them. Most of the time, they just work implicitly. But they are there, and without them, they are not going to be anything worked like as it should work. So what I wanted to emphasize that this is what the third main block of programming, and without it, things were not possible. As I said before, all other things, like you can ask the question, or if you're watching later, you can ask question like in your head, or you can ask me a question like, really? Like, let's think about something else. Like, I know maybe you are a beginner and you don't know anything else, but if you already touched the programming a bit, you could think about something else. Like, for example, you could say, what about cycles, like loops? Yeah. Like if I have a loop, if I have some place in my program which I like, let's say I have a program which has a lot of lines, and then what is a loop actually? Yeah. And let's say I want these three lines, this, and this, be repeated 12 times, let's say. So kind of loop them. Well, what is an example in real life? Let's say, because programs, they all came from real life. I mean, they started from real life anyway. Let's say the recipe can be a program, or our schedule can be a program. Okay, let's say it's a schedule of a simple day. Like, let's say first line was I just got up, another one like took a shower, get to ready for right, like went to work, and then I came to my, let's say I came to my office and I have some things to do. Um, I have like 5 hours to work. And I know that during those 5 hours, I can, like, let's say I'm making chairs in my office. So my office actually kind of like a workshop, and I create chairs of the wood, like special kind of cool chairs. And from my experience, I know that I can make 10, 12, maybe chairs a day. So what I need to do then, I get parts. This is line like I get parts for the chair, then I glue them together, then I let them dry, then I paint it, and then I just put it to the storage. So like 5 steps, let's say. Of course I'm simplifying it, and I'm not the professional and like creating the furniture, but please bear with me. That's just a simple example to make a point. So I did it once, and instead of repeating it, sorry, I'm writing it here behind my video. So again, this is like I went to job, like got up, went to job, and then this is where I make chairs, maybe 10 or 12 chairs. Instead of just go below for each chair and repeat those 5 steps all over again and again, we don't do that. We just repeat the same steps of getting parts, glue them together, dry, paint, and put to the storage 10 times. 10, 12, whatever times I can get. This is how loops works. I mean, in real life. I always try to give examples from real life as simple as possible, because we are not in a rush. We go step by step. In order to learn programming, you really need to understand the basics and really need them as deep down to your heart as possible, and connect them with a real life example, because all what computers do, they do for us, for real life, and it's connected to real life, at least in most cases, I guess, except some special cases when it's just about computers or about technology itself. But anyway, even then it's connected to life, because computers are part of our life already. AI and everything else, and robots and TVs and phones, etc. So, and then when we got out of the loop, when I finished my work day and I made 10 or 12 chairs, I just, like, let's say, turn off the light in the workshop, in the office. I leave the office, I go back home, I shop groceries, I come home, I have a dinner, etc. So, and then the program of this day is over. So inside of my program and inside of my schedule for the day, I have a loop. So you can ask me, why then loop is not the pillar number 4, not the block number 4 of the programming, because it's a very important guy and it's used a lot. So why not? And yes, actually, I can tell you, yes, you can put it as a number 4, and we can think about number 5 maybe, and 6, 7 main things in programming and coding we use, which are used then to create more complex things like the program itself. But what I mean by saying that the free we already indicated here, and I will repeat, the first is data or information, the second is questions, conditions, the questions we ask against data, and the third is the flow, control, flow, like the how the program go. Those three are enough, and with loop I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to try to prove it to you. So let's say now we already understand what loop is. Yeah, remember, like, it's about when I repeat few things few times, like I'm making 10 chairs and I'm doing it like the same steps all over again, like some number of times. So in programming, let's say, yeah, we have program goes, and then we have a loop. And let's say how it is, how can it be organized? So let's say it's part of the program, and then the program continues. And we say that we want it to be repeated 3 times. So start here, but let's say inside of this loop there are maybe four things our program does. Doesn't matter what it does, etc. The most important right now to understand that this block will be repeated 3 times, and only then we continue and go down, like the other instructions in our program and our code will be executed. So these 4 lines will be executed 3 times. What do we have here? Let's think about it. The number 3 is a piece of, you guessed it, information. So it's a first block. It's a representative of the first block. The code itself is just code. It can have anything inside, so we don't care about this much right now. What else do we have? We have the flow control, yeah, like the lines inside of the loop still are controlled by the main control, so it's number 3, because they go one after another. It's not any new kind of, how to say, order. It's not new order. It's like it was here and it will be here like this before. So the flow is used inside of the loop. Also, the flow is used not only inside of the loop, but here. Like when we jump from this last line back to first line, to make a second iteration. So like the loops, we call it iterations inside of the loop. So you can call it simply runs, loop run. First time, the second time, third time. So third time, then the second time it ran, then it ran third time, and each time it was was jumping back to the beginning. It's again these jumpers implemented by block number 3, nothing new. It's just a flow, just a control like here. It's normal control from top to the bottom, and this is not normal control from bottom to the top. But this is how loops are organized. It's not special magical command. Of course, you're gonna use special magical commands in the programming languages, but my point to show it to you that it's not a magic. It's just some point in your program. Somehow you write something, and then it doesn't matter right now, you're gonna learn it in the programming languages themselves. All of you maybe learn different languages, it's okay. But at some point, something will tell the program that it should jump back to the first line of this loop. And I don't know if you guessed it or not, most interesting thing, let's use another color for it, is going to happen when we should actually be done with looping. If we, otherwise we continue and it will be fourth, fifth, etc. But it should not be fourth, fifth. It should be only 3 because this is we get special place where we store this special information 3 that we want this program only run, all this piece of the program, this loop only be ran 3 times. This is where the second pillar, the second building block of programming comes to the play. The if condition, question, whatever you call it. Each time when our loop is ran, in the end, before the most important thing, before jumping to the bottom, I mean from the bottom to the top, we ask, and what do we ask? We ask a simple question. If it has been ran, well, of course I cannot write it. Let's say, I mean, let's make it bigger. I mean, I cannot write all these words, but let's say like this: if r, let's say r is like number of runs. Like if it was ran, and say more or equals to 3, just in case. But let's even make it simple. For now, we should not care about all these symbols, etc. Just to make life easier, let's say if ran, I don't know, I'm not sure about my spelling, of course, in this past form, but bear with me, pardon my knowledge of English spelling. So what I mean, if the loop was like ran 3 times, the idea is this, just to ask the question. And if the answer is to this question is yes, then we do not, very important, do not jump to the top. We just go out of the loop and continue the program. But if the answer is no, then we jump to the top and we do another iteration. What I'm saying by this, I'm saying that this is where, again, first of all, I'm saying this is where second block of programming is used again. And we are checking each time if we already ran it 3 times or not, and if not, we continue to run, and if we did, then we go out. The same thing can be actually asked other way to simplify it and to make it maybe more natural. We can also say if let's call this not even iterations, not even rand, but just times. Yeah, we understand that looping times like LP, LT. Sorry, if looping times less than 3, then and only then let the control to jump to the top again. So what's gonna happen here? First time we just go and we just do it first time anyway without any problem. So first time so loops times number 1 now, like first iteration. Then we come to this condition and the program is asked, so if loop times less than 3, yeah, it's less because it's 1, it's less. So then it's ran second time. So we got some special place where we store this kind of counter. So it's now stored the number 2. Then we ask again, so if the loop time less than 3, it's still less than 3, it's 2. So then it's looped third time, and then the number of times it looped is 3. And then when we ask the question if it looped 3 times, I mean if it looped the number of loop less than 3, and it's not less than 3, it's actually 3. So then the condition is not met, then the answer to this question is negative, and this is why we never jump again. This is how we go out of the loop. Otherwise, in some programs it happens, unfortunately. There is something like how you call it, like internal loop, like, yeah, it's never ending loop, like, and you loop forever. Yeah, so basically here it was maybe a bit complicated, but it's not the topic. It's not the main topic of our lesson today. But this is how I just showed to you that there is no need to create their kind of block number 4 in programming, like, because the first 3 are enough. Because using the first 3, the information, the this question, if, and the flow which use here and here are enough to create all others. For example, loop. Today we just proved that loop could be created using these first 3 guys. Again, just to recap, we're gonna end today with this. We remember that we have only 3 most important blocks in coding and programming. And if you understand them well, why are they exist, what for they exist, how they can be used. Like, for example, we use them to create the loop today, yeah. Then it's gonna be easier and easier for you in future to learn more complex stuff. So the first one is data, and we're gonna talk about each of these 3 later in more details, and we're gonna of course talk about more complex stuff like loops and other things which are created by using these 3. But for now, all you need to know, all you need to remember and understand that the first one is just the data information. It's all around us, like is this color black or white, sunshiny weather or cloudy, or is it cold or warm, is it 0 or 1, yes or no, what is your age, what is your name, etc., etc., all this small and big data. The second pillar, second box, is condition, or if question most of the time, or any question actually. So it's just the number of questions, number of logical kind of thinking things like we can use against the data. We can ask the questions against the data, we can query the data, we kind of manipulating the data with this. Like we ask, is it a sunny day today? what is your salary, what is your age, what is my age, what color is my hair, what time is it now. And then we also say not just what, but we say more interesting stuff like if it's 5 o'clock, then let's drink tea. Like let's say if it's not midnight yet, let's play a game or go to the movies. Um, yeah, if your savings is more than $18,000, then you can invest them this and this way, etc., etc. So, and the third one is kind of a very humble guy. It's just behind the scene most of the time, but it's really bossy because it's control everything. And even when I said right now, like things like if it's sunny, let's go outside, or if you have $15,000 savings, you can invest, then all this can go things or do invest, yeah, or don't do, it's all control. And then when we have few instructions, few um, steps in our recipe, like when we cook something, or few things in our schedule, and we do it one after another, this flow, we control it ourselves in our day life. But in programs, in computers, the computers themselves and the special programs, besides your program, besides the program you write, the special programs around, they control the situation, the operating system, etc. They control how the things flow, including like your program itself. So that's basically it for today. Again, we restarted this. Let me go back to you. Yeah, we restarted these streams again, and maybe I will restart it in future. So each time, each year, or like whatever, like number of months when I restarted, I try to do it better. I try to do it more simple, as simple as possible, without any rush, without any overwhelming overwhelming feeling. So my idea is to create less stress, more understanding. And you, if you're gonna have any questions, please feel free to ask. And we're gonna go from here, building using these blocks, to as complex as we need. And then if we go to very complex stuff or too complicated stuff, we can always go back to simplify it, and we can always start all over again in future. That's not a big problem again. And even if you learn programming before, it's also always great to go back to the basics, try to learn it, and try to teach somebody else as well. If you already know something, you try to teach somebody else, like I did it many times, I learned something new on along the way. So with this, have a great day, happy coding, and see you next time.